This is simply about helping us find and alert anybody who may have been exposed to the virus.
Stay-at-home restrictions will ease in Queensland from Saturday,
suggesting that the company is working towards a July reopening with strict social distancing measures within their cinemas.
West Australians can now gather in groups of up to 10 people after the state government eased some social restrictions.
Australians will be looking at Queensland and WA with an envied eye after they became the first states to start to scale back on social restrictions. Both states have been seeing limited and sometimes zero new infections every day, which has led to a lift in some bans. The lifts vary from WA allowing 10-person gatherings and group exercise to Queensland allowing picnics in parks and driving 50 kilometres away from their home. All eyes will be on how these two states adapt before any national restrictions are lifted.
When you have a prolonged period of very, very low case, and in particular what's called community transmission, cases that don't have a known origin, they're the ones that we most worry about. If that's the situation, that you've got those low case numbers, you've got community transmission under control, then steps can be taken. And so I think it's something, even if you're not in Queensland and Western Australia, it's a sign of hope and a sign of progress, and it means that we're saving lives, and it's a good thing.
From Saturday, Queenslanders will have a little more freedom, stretching from being able to have picnics in parks, visit national parks and go on non-essential shopping trips.
We recognise that Queenslanders have done a great job in trying to flatten that curve, and so we also know it's having a big impact on people's mental health. So we thought that we could lift some stay-at-home restrictions, but what we're asking people to do is to continue with the social distancing. That's number one. And secondly, it has to be your own household, or if you're living by yourself, with a friend.
But the Queensland Premier is adamant that if the state starts to see a resurgence in case numbers, the restrictions will come back.
If we would see a cluster or a large-scale community transmission, we would have to clamp back down.
New South Wales has also been seeing low numbers of new infections and an increase in testing. In the 24 hours until 8 p.m. last night, the state recorded its lowest confirmed cases in 2 months, with 2 people testing positive for the virus and over 4,400 people tested. But the good news doesn't mean the Premier is looking to ease restrictions just yet.
Yes, we definitely want to ease restrictions. Yes, we definitely want people to have a greater sense of normality in their lives. But we also have to be aware that that comes with an obvious consequence. And that obvious consequence is more cases and more people getting sick.
This has really got to be an ongoing partnership with the community. And if the community responds to our request to come forth and test, and we're trying to make that as easy and streamlined for the community members to participate in testing, that will give us that assurance we need.
As to whether we will see a national lifting of the restrictions, the government is still telling Australians there won't be any changes until at least May 11th. To help the coalition relax restrictions, it's urging the country to download the new contact tracing app called COVID Safe, which uses Bluetooth to sense prolonged exposure to nearby users. If a user contracts COVID-19 and gives their consent, their data will be used by health officials to trace people they encountered. The government says the app is secure, doesn't record a user's location and just needs your name, mobile number, postcode and age range to get set up.
We had, in our quiet hopes, thought that we might get to 1 million within 5 days. We were lucky enough to get there within 5 hours. And I think Australians are very sophisticated users of technology. They understand apps. I think they understand that this has probably the most secure protections for information ever put in place by an Australian government.
It's clear that Australia has been doing well flattening the curve, so much so the Prime Minister's approval ratings skyrocketed in the latest news poll, receiving the highest level of support for a leader since 2008 and the second only to Kevin Rudd since Newspoll began collecting data in the 1980s. The strong support for the PM didn't translate to the coalition though, with Labor and the government locked 50-50 on a two-party preferred basis. That's Unpacked for today. I'm Maddie.